Okay, hello, hello. Thank you all for coming. My name is Ben. I'm a staff product manager at Shopify. Really excited to talk to you about international app-ortunities. I'd like to introduce my co-host here, Thomas, the CEO of Ship & Co., and Mikko, the chief evangelist from Woolman. I'm going to start by giving a little bit of an overview of Shopify's position on international expansion, our priority markets, and hopefully give you a good taste of the international opportunity to get you excited to build for new markets. Then I'll pass it to Mikko, who'll talk about building in Japan. Thomas, excuse me, Tom, I'm looking at Mikko. Pass it to Thomas for building in Japan, and Mikko will talk about international challenges and focusing on EMEA. And then we will do some Q&A, so hold your questions if you don't mind. Let's get into it. Okay, so the Shopify opportunity. So as you saw at Editions last week, Shopify is investing heavily in global features. I don't remember every feature we shipped, but we improved markets, we released Shopify payments in more countries, we improved privacy compliance tools, we improved the markets feature. Did I say that one? There's a bunch on there if you scroll down. So there's a lot of features we're shipping for international merchants. And obviously our goal as a platform is really to support the biggest scale that we possibly can. But of course we have to focus. So these are our priority markets right now. EMEA, as you can see, is outpacing US growth by 30%. So we're seeing really good growth there. And we'll start targeting Japan, which is the fourth largest e-com market in the world. So you can see that we're growing really fast in some of these markets, but only 5 to 7% of apps are available in these markets, and 82% of merchants are using apps. So you can see there's a huge gap here, right? 5 to 7% is the inventory of apps, but almost all the merchants are using apps. Furthermore, you can see that merchants spend 30% more on apps when they're in international markets than they do in the US. And app partners who ship apps here are earning 14% more. So like all these numbers are stacked to show a huge amount of demand and a relatively low supply of apps in international markets. Let's take a look at the categories here with the highest install share. This is a question we get pretty frequently. You can see each market is a little bit different, but there are a lot of commonalities. So you can see shipping, drop shipping, product reviews, email marketing. These are the highest install share categories. Let's keep going. The top apps in every market. You can see dropshippers for AliExpress. You can see Judge Me. You can see Ship & Co. in Japan. Well done. You can see Klaviyo. So there's a bunch of pretty popular apps across the market, but you can see that they're also still really concentrated into top apps. So what can you do, right? So you can localize your app. If you translate your app, you can see a 9% install lift. 9% is pretty good for localizing an app. I know it's not easy, it's not obvious, but like that's a pretty safe bet for existing features compared to investing in a brand new feature or a brand new category. Yeah, well, that's actually, can I hold your question, if you don't mind? Okay. Well, go ahead.
Is that 9% per market or per translation?
I think it's per app, once you do the first.
Okay.
I think. I can check the stats after. So localizing your app, I've heard from a lot of partners that there's like two components to their hesitation here. There's technical components, which I think people understand pretty well, right? You have to extract strings, you have to set up plurals and currency and date formatting. And the other hesitation I've heard is offering support in a new language, and how might you do that? And I think the good news in 2025 is that AIs and LLMs can help a lot here, right? Like a lot of customer support platforms have translation baked in that can make it really seamless. I think AIs can also help with the technical piece of adding internationalization middleware and extracting strings. So I feel like the wave of AI really supports this on every front today. And if you've been hesitating for this reason, I think you should revisit it, frankly. Okay, let me give you another little nugget. There's 600 million Spanish speakers. And if you take that in light of our 30% growth in Europe over the US, so like growing really fast in Europe, and only 7% of available apps in Spanish, you can see over the coming years as the merchant base continues to grow, there's a big demand here. Let me leave you with my favorite slide. And this is the inverse of what we saw before, right? So this is categories with the lowest install share. So these are apps that are least installed in each of these target countries. And these, these may not fit perfectly in the country, so I'm not promising you a land rush here, but it could be, right? And so if I was starting to think about where to expand, had an app in these categories, I would consider it a great opportunity to start research, right? Obviously, there may be regulatory challenges or local nuances that need to be addressed, but if you look at the top ones, some of these are repeating as well. You can see loyalty and rewards a few times. You can see subscriptions and accounting and order tracking. So like, there's a pretty good opportunity here for all these categories that have really low install shares. Thanks so much. I'm going to pass it to Thomas to talk a little bit more about Japan.
Thank you. So thank you, everyone. So a bit about me. So my name is Thomas. I'm French, but I've been in Japan, Kyoto, for 22 years. I'm kind of OG in Shopify market. I was blogging and I heard about Shopify in 2006. I got an invite on their beta, and I was working for a Japanese company. I opened a website on Shopify in 2006 with PayPal, and it worked already. And I quit everything, and in 2008, I opened my own store called Bento & Co. We sell bento boxes, Japanese kitchenware, and it still runs today. So next year, like over 20 years working with Shopify, and that's great. So anyway, and so basically we shipped a lot with Bento & Co, and that's why we made the app Ship & Co. And this is the first shipping app and API in Japan. So why we built Ship & Co? Because we were seeing online, and we shipped orders to about 50, 100 countries every day, between 20 to 100 orders. And when you copy paste shipping address on the FedEx website, it takes a long time. Back in the day, ShipStation, the big app from the US, were just starting, but they were really focusing on US domestic market, or from US to abroad. So it didn't really work for us. So we figured out we should build our own app for us. And so we integrated with FedEx, DHL, UPS. And in 2018, after 1 year of negotiation with all the Japanese carriers, because they didn't have any public API, we integrated with Yamato, Japan Post, and Sagawa as well. And so now we serve like thousands of online sellers, Shopify and other shipping e-commerce platform. And we also launched our API, so like 3PL service who works for Shopify sellers in Japan use our API to connect with all these international and domestic carriers. About the Japan market landscape. So Shopify is quite big in Japan now, I would say. And actually, Japanese was the first language after English to be added on the Shopify admin in 2016, if I remember. We got a visit from a lot of Shopify folks in 2016, and they talked a lot with us about localization, how to make Shopify big in Japan. And there's a lot of opportunities there. It's the third or fourth largest e-commerce market in the world. On the pictures you can see here on Amazon, there's about 8 published books, like not in Kindle books, real public books you can find also in bookstore, to tell you how to sell on Shopify or how to make an app on Shopify. There's a lot of interest, and a lot of people in Japan really like to open the books with real paper and learn about it. And the other pictures is Osaka subway. Osaka subway, if you search online, Osaka Metro shop, they have a Shopify store, actually. And they didn't even bother to buy a domain. So they advertise their own store, so osakametro.myshopify.com, everywhere. And we made some, we are making actually since April for 1 year, we are making ads about our apps in the subway. Why is that? Because the subway is, right every day by business people going to the office, and some of them probably sell online, so we figure out, okay, maybe it's difficult to track, but we want to invest in our branding. I think it's very important in Japan, but also anywhere. So if you have an app, don't invest only on, I would say, on Meta and Google ads. I mean, in branding, I think is important. I think it's very important in Japan. So where to start? So obviously, localization will be about translation. And if you don't have any Japanese working with you, of course, AI is doing a great job. We use AI every day. We have also, obviously, customer support, Japanese people, supporting natively customers. But some of our employees don't write Japanese perfectly, and ChatGPT or Gemini are doing like a perfect job from English to Japanese to translate what you need to say. So obviously, localization, translation is very important. But not only, I would say in Japan, there's also a lot of sellers who ship from Japan to abroad. They target the US market, they target Southeast Asia, or they target Europe. And a lot of these sellers, obviously, even if they're Japanese, they speak English and they use like international apps. And I think it's good maybe to start with some of these sellers, so you can enter the market and know a bit more about the Japanese market. And obviously, after like localization, not only the translation, if you're very serious about Japanese market, you can provide a bit more. One thing we've done at Chip & Co, and you can see on the pictures, we launched 2 or 3 Shopify extension, checkout extension, and product page extension. A block, we call that block, yes. Like really specifically to Japan. And actually, what Shopify lets you do is some of these extensions, we show them only to customers at checkout who are based in Japan. And so if the store is also like working for international buyers, only the Japanese will see that. So one extension we did is very important in Japan is when you buy something online in Japan, you want to select at checkout when, at what time you want it to be delivered. Most carriers in Japan, they deliver like every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you can select, I want to be delivered before noon, or before 2 p.m. or between 2 and 4 p.m. And so we made an extension for that. We get an order attributes, it syncs to our app, and it gets printed on the shipping labels. And of course, the other things I want to say is like working with Shopify Japan partners. So there's many agencies now in Japan, like building website. There's freelance developers and very big partners. There's like about, I would say, 6 to 8 who are very, very active. You can find some of them here, actually. And last year, we did a big event in Kyoto at the end of October. It was the first time we did that. We got 200 guests from 6 different countries. From Vietnam, from India, from Hong Kong, Korea, China. A lot of people are interested into the Japanese market. A lot of foreign brands want to sell more in Japan. And a lot of Japanese brands also want to sell in Europe and US. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to come in Japan and to learn. So we're going to do actually another event later in this year in October. So if you're interested, let me know after this talk. A small recap. So everything is, on this slide, so you can take pictures. But I'm done. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Mikko Rekola. I worked for Woolman for over 7 years. We are a 8-year-old agency, and we are a one-stop shop for Shopify. So we're actually the biggest Shopify Premier partner in Europe. We are EMEA wide, but these days we are a global partner of Shopify. And I'm also a former Shopify Plus merchant. I was a merchant twice. So I thought that I'd share what we've experienced as an agency. We also develop apps to our customers, and key part of our business is consulting to app providers, just like you. I've done consultancy for providers like Klaviyo or Yotpo or Nosto or some of the big boys, but also smaller and more local providers. And I thought that I'll try to share that what we see happening in EMEA, so mainly in Europe, different parts of Europe, and what we see happening also on global scale. So how you can scale together with Shopify, and as Shopify is winning global market share, Europe is absolutely booming. So how, as a developer, you should probably focus on other regions. Japan, great. Europe, great. Look at Shopify as your global app, sort of like market partner. And to be honest, as a former merchant, I've always loved the App Store. I think it's the secret sauce of Shopify as a platform. If I look at all the providers there's the toughest competition on Shopify App Store. However, for merchants, it's perfect. It's easy to find solutions. It's easy to compare solutions. The App Store is the place to be. If we as an agency recommend solutions, I get 70, 100 messages a week. Can you recommend my app? What should I do? Our number one thing as an agency always has been that we look at sort of like the background, the amount of your reviews, but even more than that, are you a Shopify Plus certified app? Are you a built for Shopify app? That badge means a lot to us. Over 90% of our builds are using these solutions. And we serve not only like smaller merchants, but these days we serve some of the bigger businesses on the planet. So we, as example, have 2 Fortune 500 companies as our customers. They run with Shopify, they are using Shopify themes, and they are using Shopify apps, just like yours. The bigger trend that I see happening, I would say like past year and a half, is that our customers are now looking for more holistic solutions. So when I look at the new app provider, I talk with that person, and they are asking me, how should I improve? Have I done a good job? My number one question is that, what's the problem that you are going to fix? And customers love that if you can fix multiple problems at once. After being in the Shopify ecosystem for more than 10 years, back in the day you could do a really good business by solving one issue. But now customers are looking to solve multiple issues at once. Look at Yotpo, look at Clearer.io and others. They can fix 5, 6, 7 issues at once. So those are providers that are sort of like recommended by agencies such as ours, but those are also the solutions that bigger customers want to have. So if you are aiming more to the large and enterprise space, and why that is so impactful for most of you, you can make much more money in large and enterprise. SMB is great, you can have volume from there, but if you truly want to serve the bigger audience, then Shopify is already proof for enterprise and large accounts. Definitely check it out. If I look at how to build the apps, how to build solutions, I think like you should think like Swiss Army knife, that you're at least fixing 2, 3 other issues. You are very like focused on that. And then the great part is to listen to the feedback from your merchants. If they are looking for a feature, if something is happening, or if, as example, Shopify is announcing something new. If I look at the history, the key changes with Shopify has been like, first of all, Shopify POS. It's still a massive untapped opportunity. In EMEA, in many countries, Shopify POS is doing hockey stick growth. But if I go to Shopify App Store and type Shopify POS, the amount of providers who have anything to related with Shopify POS/retail is still somewhat limited. That would be my free tip to all of you. Check out Shopify POS. Then another one would be definitely Shopify Markets. It's enabled a lot for us because many of our customers do cross-border commerce. In Europe, multiple different languages, so many different currencies. It's a mess. It was a mess to run that with extension stores. And now you can do that with Shopify Markets. So the core feature where I would really focus on if you want to be global is that you would be fully Shopify Markets compliant. It's still an advantage if you look at the entire App Store. Someone like I do work with Shopify Market but haven't even read the documentation. So it's a core feature which I've recommended many of you to invest more to make sure that then you can fully support these regions. And why this is so important, that as an agency, over 90% of our new builds are leveraging Shopify Markets. Really a core feature. In EMEA in specific, also the legal stuff is very important. So GDPR, in UK GDPR. And the biggest issue I see with foreign developers is that they tell that I'm GDPR friendly. There is no such thing. Either you are GDPR compliant, you have the documentation, or you are not. There is no gray zone there. So I really focus, if you want to focus on EMEA, if you're handling, as example, lots of customer information, customer data, you need to be GDPR compliant. My last of this one would be to compete. So I love business. I love to be active. I always love the underdog. And that's part of the reason why we've been consulting also like smaller developers. So the big boys have been in the App Store for a long time, many 4 years. But always if you can offer something unique, better built, more AI-driven, whatever it would be in your vertical, it's worth a shot. And in business, as is in life, the thing that really like bothers me the most in some of the opportunities, I've seen so many opportunities, some great opportunities, but what really matters the most, and it's also like a bit disappointing, that if you have a brilliant idea, go for it. Don't be like in the mid-range that, okay, maybe I should have partnerships with agencies. Absolutely, you must go with agencies, because agencies are handling the volumes of customers, especially in solutions with a higher priced. Then definitely recommending to form like partnerships there. Go for it. It's your opportunity, and if you are going for the moonshot, go. Don't think about it. Then I thought to share like how are we really like building, and in terms of what kind of solutions we like to support as an agency, what I personally feel that is important to make sure. So definitely number one, partnerships. Make sure that you get familiar with at least the top tier agencies in every single region. I'm happy to have a discussion, but when I have the discussion with the provider, I need to make sure that the provider understands me. They look at our customers. They explain me what kind of value you can provide to Woolman customers. Then I'm much more keen to have the discussion. Not just a message that I have an app, look at it, can you sell? Can you be a reseller? Maybe, you never know. But if you really have planned a strategy, you can explain that, okay, I'm as example extremely strong in the CPG vertical, or I fix an issue in Shopify B2B, which by the way is massive for us. And my colleague Marta here is suffering with B2B related issues. It's the new pie. So always plan before contacting the agencies. Then if you have a good pitch, I'm more than keen to have the discussion that how we can possibly bring mutual value. B2B, completely new pie. And I think this is also something that I see some of you are pioneering here, but many are like, okay, should I do B2B? B2B has evolved. After the pandemic, at least from my perspective, B2B e-commerce is becoming more like B2C e-commerce. They are looking for solutions such as search, discovery, discounts, reviews, loyalty, and whatnot. So if you haven't already studied, make sure that have at least a look at B2B. Consider that if that's something where you should invest. Last year, B2B was 11% of our agency business. This year, it will be more than 35. The pie is growing. Who's therefore making more money? Local language support, also important in Europe. So Europe is very fragmented, different languages, all of that. I wouldn't say it's vital, kind of many markets you can handle with English, but still like if you really want to nail some of the top regions, it would be important that you are having support in French, Spanish, German, or other languages. Then you can get much more out of the market, especially if you serve like more higher end of the pyramid, meaning large to enterprise tier merchants. What is often lacking when I talk with developers is that they ask me that how should I define my customer segments? To whom should I sell? Should I sell to everyone on the App Store? Should I focus on one industry or one type of a customer, meaning like SMB, mid-market, large enterprise? I think this is the job that you need to do mainly yourself. Shopify is providing some good data, as you saw a while ago. You can always ask the agencies and local merchants that how do they feel, what are the segments where you can be strong. But to be really honest, if I look at all the partners, I've worked with more than 100 during the years. The ones that are making the best results are serving multiple different segments. They can, as example, make sure that the pricing is step by step so that it's affordable to start, but large to enterprise merchants pay more, sort of like a commission pricing. And also to consider that in some of the verticals, there might be limited demand. So make sure that you would have broad enough spectrum that at least if you're targeting one specific business vertical, as example, fashion, why not go with fashion and lifestyle or whatnot? Then you might have like a bit better rate of success. And then the big question that what type of customers should I go with? SMB, mid-market, large enterprise? It depends. It depends that what kind of solution you have provided, what is your ambition. The positive part what I've seen is that many of our partners, they started with SMBs, but they've grown together with Shopify and now they are serving like large and enterprise tier merchants. So they can gradually scale it up. And with Shopify, it actually might open you a new window for large and enterprise accounts. So bear that in mind. And last, I think like the tier pricing is brilliant. So look at those app providers who are doing models like this and make sure that your App Store listing is spot on, up to date, and easy to understand. I receive even from our merchants many times the questions that the listing is somewhat confusing. You're, as example, telling there that I'm a WooCommerce developer. Please don't do it. Talk about Shopify. Make sure that you are focusing. And also, you can always tell about the customer success stories and types of merchants that you serve. That typically helps, especially smaller customers, to rely on you and your solution.
Thank you so much. Great advice. I think we have a few minutes for questions. If anybody has any. Yeah, please.
The second slide had
We'll pass around the mic.
82% of them
I'll get you a mic, 1 second, sorry.
So the slide had like the stat of 82% of the stores use an app, but only 5 to 7% of the other regions use it. Like, is it like because of translations or any particular reason?
Well, I'm here to tell you, you should enter that, right? You should boost the 5 to 7% number, right? Like think about all the public apps we have.
Okay.
If I'm a merchant in another market, I have only 5 to 7% available to me, depending on the market.
Okay.
So like, there's not a lot of supply based on how much demand there is.
That's because of the translations are not present, or is there any other reason?
I think
that
it's
they
because
say?
the app, well, I'll say the stat is configured for apps that support additional languages.
Okay.
And therefore is available to merchants speaking those languages.
Got it. Thank you.
That was your question, right? Okay. Any other questions? Expanding internationally, everybody ready to build apps in more languages, more locales? Yeah, please, Robin. We got a mic coming for you, sorry.
Yeah, I already forgot. What do I want to ask? Give me a sec.
The answer is
yeah.
AI. Sorry,
What
go
is
ahead.
the what do you see as or do you think that it's worth to focus on the like global UI UX thing, because that could be really global, or it's better to have like focus apps on the localized stuff? Because very often, like, especially in the EMEA, we are doing a lot of localized things, and that's like really niche. But the question is if like it's really worth to go for this UX global thing.
It's a good question. I'd be interested in your opinions as well. My gut is saying to build one app, because then you can stack brand and reviews and share experiences across markets. But definitely.
In Chip & Co, we have, like for international orders, we have one UI. You can select in Japanese, in English. We support French, Chinese, and Korean as well. But the same UI. Okay. And it works, and people like it. We have few customers outside of Japan in 20 different countries. In Turkey, in Mexico, in Canada, in Sri Lanka, we have a Shopify server, and it works. But like what will be localized, like for if you ship domestic Japan, you have like some option for the shipping carriers that works just for domestic Japan. So we make sure to display this option only for domestic orders.
So maybe.
But the UI, like even our homepage, maybe we have one in English, one in Japanese, but they look kind of the same.
What he said.
Hey, out of curiosity, when it comes to machine-based language translation, have you found that certain languages either work better than others, or that you found like particular issues? And then do your customers tend to be more or less forgiving when they're like glaring translation issues?
That's a good question. We've been working a bit on AI translations at Shopify. I would say that the latest round of models work really well in the languages in our target markets. Like you talked about Japanese, worked really well. The EMEA countries we're targeting worked really well. Yeah, I lost the question. I got so excited about AI. Did that answer it? Yeah, I think it works really well. I think you should try it. I mean, I would say try to do a few rounds, like try to write a pretty basic prompt, try to give it as much context as you can, right? Describe your app, describe the page, try to be as specific as you can, as if it was a human translator and it had the page in front of it. Like if you can, put in your top one nav, put in which page it is, put a description of the page, but like put as much as you possibly can in, and I think it'll be really good.
we see sellers also like replying to us using AI. Like some sellers are outside of Japan and they are not native speaker, or you can see they're using AI, and we pardon them, right?
Yeah, and many of the commercial developers that we have been working with, they typically use the 80-30-20 rule. So if it's close enough, you can always like improve. But it just like changes the experience for some of the markets, like the French market or the Spanish market or the German market, when you just have that language, and you can always then like take it from there.
So I have a question around localized pricing for apps. Yeah, so because I mean we do get a lot of agencies coming back to us and say, hey, you know, like this pricing might work for you. The U.S. market might not work for LATAM or parts of EMEA. You know, how do we offer that kind of localized pricing through the App Store? Because there's only like I think 4 plans, and you know it's not super flexible. And you know, we want to be transparent, but also like have some sort of restrictions, right? Like so that you can't VPN into a different market and then just try to get a different price.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say I don't work on that piece, but I'm happy to take your feedback and think more about it and pass it on for sure. If you guys have better advice for today, maybe there isn't an answer. We're going to make it better. Let's talk afterwards. We can make it better.
Like agency exclusive pricing.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the answer right now, but it's like, how do you work with multiple agencies
Yeah.
with exclusive pricing? Right? So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's talk after. Let me make sure I understand it all the way and we can fix it.
Pardon. I
Yeah,
was curious
please.
for the categories with the lowest install share in that screen that you showed.
Yeah.
Understanding that that's just like a percentage, you know, lowest install share across kind of like any reasoning. Would that be? I'm curious just to get y'all's opinion on. Do you think that this is because these markets don't prefer those apps and that functionality, or is it just, you know, in Germany they don't have good translations for those kinds of apps? They don't have the availability, the functionality they're looking for.
I think those are all plausible reasons. Like I can't guarantee, like I haven't vetted each of these categories, right? That like they're ready to buy it, but I think it's a great opportunity. And I think if you have an app in it, you might want to do some research and see if it's worth investing in, but it seems very likely, you know, like you'd have to find pretty good objective, pretty good reasons to say no of why it shouldn't fit there and why do these merchants not need this?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Add to it, I think that in some cases, for example, in the German market, we should count on all pretty well, since we are in Czech Republic, we are neighbors. And very often I see that, for example, the social brew, they are using custom apps, etc., rather than those which are published. And that's the same happening even in other EMEA countries. There are, for example, some established brands for whatever, returns, etc., and they are using rather custom app, and they don't have the published one. So I think it doesn't need to be 100% accurate, but there is maybe some like bigger local player who does it under the custom app and not under the public app.
It could be. Those are good examples, and I think those are great opportunities for a really high-polished public app to take, frankly.
Yeah, and one way of sort of like uncoding the whole thing, at least in EMEA, so in different countries, there are very different types of businesses, meaning typically like the KPIs that you should look for is sort of like catalog size, average order value, and whatnot. So as example, Finland, Sweden, in Sweden, the average order value is 1.5 times more than in Finland because they have some fashion brands that are like top tier and high end, and that's actually a good chunk of the market. So what type of businesses exist in that very specific region also means that where is demand. So that would be my sort of like advice there. There is some data available from Shopify and from other public sources, but you can do some really good digging with AI these days yourself and figure out that, okay, I'm in North Europe, I'm in South Europe, what type of businesses exist on Shopify there?
That's a great point.
Order tracking in Japan, don't build an app for order tracking. Because basically, usually it's really fast. You ship and you get it the next day. So there's really no time to track. And Shopify, I mean, even our app, like when you fulfill an order with your app, we send the tracking number of email or phone number to the shipping carriers. And they're going to send a message online, which is kind of WhatsApp in Japan. And so, you know, Japan Post will, as soon as they pick up the parcel, you get an email and they ask you if you want to get delivered tomorrow or the next day. So basically, the shipping carriers are handling this very well. There's no need for an app like here.
Yeah, and if I may add one thing, very important would be my pro tip of the day. So you notice what's happening with Horizon. You overall understand what's happening with sort of like the e-commerce front end. So that's under pressure. So as a developer, make sure to understand that what if everything that happens in the front end will be very different in 6 months or a year. So if you're very like locked with the current front end or all the themes, if the AI will change everything, how are you prepared? And for those of you that are very focused on the front end, especially important to stay up to date.
Cool. If there's no more questions, oh, we got one more. Yes, sir.
This is more aimed towards Mikko, I guess. So you mentioned you get a lot of messages from other agencies or app developers in general. And usually when an app developer makes an app, they think they've solved the best problem ever. So this is something that app developers have as a problem in general. They don't know if they think they know they've solved a good problem. But what do you think is a good way for someone who doesn't have the vision that you do with all these cases you've seen? What is the best way to present our case to someone, to a big agency like you?
Yeah. Well, there are like few ways. I think first of all to locate the Shopify Plus partners or Premier partners or Platinum partners in different regions. The amount of Shopify partners has been increasing really rapidly past years. And Shopify arranges, as example, lots of events and those. So those are always like good opportunities. There might be a meetup in your city or in your location. Go there and talk to sort of like the participants, whether they are merchants, whether they are agencies, both matter. Personally, I always believe a lot in the sort of like direct customer feedback. So once you have those few customers, spend time there, request to have a meeting. I think many are very keen to have it, but the issue is that no one actually dares to bother the merchant. But the merchant typically has such honesty that it's very valuable for a developer. And even better if you have like different types of merchants, different verticals, different sizes, and different regions, then it makes like much more sense. And if I would be a developer, I would definitely look at my competition as well. What have they done? What they done so well? What can I do better? And make sure that I would figure out, as example, which brands they are using. Is there more customers in that specific vertical? Let's go with like CPG. So is there more demand for CPG? Which are the other CPG brands on Shopify in EMEA? Let's go and figure those out and contact those directly. So it's more about how you present yourself. And to be honest, I like honesty. That's brutally honest. I have 6 installs, but I have big dreams rather that I'm a $1 billion app developer and you've sold like 2. So I'm more than happy to respond to those more like honest messages where you truly are like, I need assistance, I need help, whatnot. So start small, scale it up.
Can I add just something here? And for me, as I work more on the client-facing side, my personal recommendation is, thank you. If you're not one of these huge, very well-known apps, please provide either free trials or sandboxes for us to try, because ultimately when we make a recommendation, we're accountable in front of the client. So I would never dare to recommend an app that I haven't tried myself and that I know that it's going to do what it needs to do. So that I think that's also quite important to offer at least some sort of sandbox or this kind of trial period so that we can also play around and check them out.
Cool. Thank you all so much for coming and talking about the app-ortunities. Really appreciate the questions. And thanks to my co-presenters, of course. I keep thinking this is a microphone. It's not a microphone.